Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. We have a special guest in the room today to talk about beyond the classroom, unlocking the full executive MBA experience with Florida Warrington. For those of you who've been watching our webcasts over the years, you recognize this face and this voice. It is Naz Erenguc, the Director of Admissions at the University of Florida's Warrington School. Welcome, Naz. It's great to see you again.
Hi, thank you, John, and thank you to Poets and Quants for hosting me again.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about the Executive MBA program at Warrington, but for an audience that may be coming to this fresh, completely fresh, how does an Executive MBA program differ from a traditional full-time MBA program?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, John. And I think the really important thing to consider here is, as an executive MBA student, how that really differs from a full-time candidate is the level of professional experience you bring to the classroom environment. On average, or I'd say at minimum, most full-time MBA programs are looking for 2 years of professional experience. But you'll see at the executive level, especially our executive MBA program here at Warrington, we require a minimum of 8 years of professional experience. So everybody who's coming into the classroom have all had not only considerable amount of lived experience, but professional experience. They are already in C-suite roles or leadership roles within their organizations. And so they have a slightly different perspective when it comes to, thinking about business issues and problems compared to, let's say, somebody who is fresher out of undergrad, who's only been in the workforce for a couple of years. So the big differentiator is the level of experience that these students bring to the classroom.
And then the format is different too, because of course you're not expecting people to quit their jobs. So you can maintain your job. In fact, bring your job into the experience, the learning experience, including some of the challenges that you're facing. And in terms of the Warrington EMBA, what's the format like?
Yeah, so that's a great question, John. So actually, let me kind of do a little bit of a backstory. So we obviously launched our full-time program back, well, maybe not obvious to you all, but I've been doing this a lot. That I feel like it's obvious to me. So we launched our program in 1946 by delivering a full-time program. But then in the early 90s, we recognized that there was a population that needed more of a stronger business acumen and a leadership management exposure. So we launched our executive program in 1993. And the cool thing is, when we just established the program, we knew that it was designed for busy working professionals. So we had to create a modified curriculum, recognizing that students were going to come to Gainesville, Monday through Friday for live lectures. So our format is that our students come to campus every third weekend, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So the program duration, it's 21 months. You're going to take about 2 classes per term, but you're only having to come to Gainesville every third weekend for your live lectures. Everything else that you do not on campus isn't going to be lecture based. It might still be, individual work and group projects. But the great thing is, all of your lecture content is strictly delivered during those dedicated class weekends. So when you think about a plug and play, we kind of get everything set up for you so that you know exactly what weekends you need to be in Gainesville. You know exactly which faculty members will be teaching you. We, of course, give you ample time for breaks and coffee and snacks throughout the weekend, but it is a jam-packed weekend.
Do you stay on campus or is there a local hotel you put people up in?
Yeah, I wish that people could stay on campus. That would be like real housewives of the EMBA cohort. No, but we actually do have a number of hotels in a 1 mile radius of campus. In fact, 2 hotels that most of our students stay at. Basically, you could, you know, throw a stone at from one door to the other. And so most of our students will choose to stay right across the street. They can walk right over. And some students that choose not to stay as close to campus, we actually have negotiated shuttle services with a lot of the other hotels in the area. So, we make it as easy as possible for our students. But, that's the added benefit of being in Gainesville, Florida, is that we are in a large city. So being able to park and walk right over to campus is super easy.
That's great. Now, what does a typical EMBA cohort at Warrington look like in terms of size, diversity, academic backgrounds, types of companies, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so one of the things that I oftentimes tell our prospective EMBAs is that you don't have to have any prior any prior academic experience to be eligible for this program. We see students come from all different backgrounds, and so you're going to come in as a cohort of about 45 students. So every year we're bringing in one executive MBA cohort. So that EMBA cohort, 45. Everybody that comes in, is going to, like I said, have a minimum of 8 years of experience. But I'll tell you that, on average, John, our students are coming in with about 16 to 18 years of experience. So they are coming in with considerable levels of professional experience. They usually have manager, senior manager, director, within their titles. And so when you also think about the cohort mix, I also like to point out that most of our students are coming from a driving radius of Gainesville. So, we see our biggest, student populations coming from the South Florida market, Orlando, Tampa. Jacksonville is a huge market for us. And then, I would say that we do see a few people coming in from beyond the state of Florida. In fact, when you look at our cost, a lot of our students can justify flying down to Gainesville once every third weekend for 21 months because our cost is so substantially, greater or less than our peer schools. And so when you talk about that ROI, but going back to the cohort itself of about 45 students, 16 to 18 years of professional experience, I'll tell you that about 15 to 20% of the class makes up our healthcare providers, so physicians, dentists. We do get some PAs and nurses in that cohort. We also see a lot of military personnel, active and veterans that come to do the executive MBA program. And then specifically some of the companies represented, we do see a lot of, once again, military or defense contracting, L3 Harris, Northrop Grumman, things like that. But given that we're here in the state of Florida, we also get the Disney and Universal and Florida Power and Light, NextEra Energy. We do get a lot of big companies like Deutsche Bank, who are in the financial sector, consulting, Deloitte, KPMG. So it really just kind of very broad in terms of the types of companies, as well as, the academic backgrounds our students are coming in with, which I think actually with that level of experience really is what makes the classroom environment so much richer, because everybody is coming in with different professional and academic experiences. And so I would say that maybe only about 10% of our incoming EMBAs come from traditional business backgrounds or accounting backgrounds. Those tend to be the group leaders in term one and term two when students are going through their finance and accounting courses. So, but yeah, it's incredibly diverse group.
And that's really the magic of an executive MBA program because most people, grow up professionally within a certain discipline. They may have switched out, but essentially they see the same people day in and day out in the same industry, if not the same company. So here you have this wealth of experience from all kinds of different industries and different disciplines for the first time. And it makes the experience really broadening and deep. Now, Naz, the average week, because of course you're not going to school every week, but you're still doing work every week. So what does the average week look like for Warrington EMBA?
Yeah. So I would say that on average, we tell our students to plan on spending about 15 to 20 hours,
Right.
on doing individual work and group work. So of course, this isn't an MBA light. It is still a lot of time and energy that goes into adding an EMBA to your regular, lives as well. We recognize that everybody's working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and juggling, not only their academic, but their family and social lives as well. And of course their professional lives. And so the average week will comprise of doing readings, individual work. You'll probably do at least 1 to 2 hours a week of collaborating with your immediate team members. That might be a weekly Zoom call or something like that. But you're going to stay heavily involved with your MBA studies throughout the week, but you get to dictate how that time is being spent. So we recognize that if you're already being pulled in so many directions, all of those lecture contents will strictly be delivered during those dedicated weekends. So if you do want to, let's say, get a little bit more of that interaction with a faculty member, they might be doing weekly office hours in kind of the evenings or on the weekends to accommodate our EMBAs. But I would say by and large, that 15 to 20 hours a week, you will spend doing individual work, group work, readings, things like that. And I would even say that most of our faculty members, if they're not giving exams during their actual class time in kind of the classroom setting, that a lot of times they'll do take-home quizzes or take-home exams. So that will also be included in that 15 to 20 hours a week.
And when you show up on campus once a month, what does that look like? What time do you show up, and then what's the regimen?
Yeah, so our Saturdays always kick off at 8:30 a.m. And we go
Early.
to, it is, well, I say that, but Sunday starts even earlier. So 8:30 till about 6:30 on Saturdays. And then Sundays we start at 7:30 to make sure all of our students can be out of Huff Hall and on the road before 5. That's really important because we wanted to make sure that all of our students could, if they were in a driving radius of Gainesville, that they could head out. And that also works out well for our students who are flying out of Gainesville, looking at the various flight patterns to allow for students to make their connections as well. So, 8:30 to 6:30 Saturday, and then 7:30 to be done by 5 on Sunday. And then the cool thing also, John, that we do is that whenever our students are here in Gainesville on campus, we always do family style breakfast and family style lunch. So we have our local caterers come into the building and we set everything up for our students. All of the classrooms are equipped with fridges and snack bars in the back. So there's an ongoing joke that I say, you might have the freshman 15, but you're going to get the MBA 20 because the MBA 20 comprises of having all of your meals. We basically take care of all of your dietary needs when you're on campus too. So during those class weekends, we always ensure that classes, not only start on time, that also beforehand, you have a clear understanding of exactly what that class weekend will look like. So let's say by chance, I know that this is a question that some of you all may have, there's a Gator game that's going to be on a Saturday at 5:30, and you think, will I be able to make this game if class is going until 6:30? And the great thing is that our faculty members probably also want to watch the game. And so they may say, hey, let's shorten lunch a little bit, or maybe let's not take as many breaks throughout the class so that we can end a little bit earlier so that we can kind of, join in kind of the other campus activities. So I'll tell you that our class weekends are pretty structured. You know exactly when you're going to start, when you're going to end. And then also throughout those weekends, we try to encourage our students to participate in networking events. Usually during those weekends, we'll host a happy hour. Usually we'll either do it for that immediate cohort, but we also recognize that you might get really tired of the same, 44 other faces. So we'll invite our other students who are enrolled in our part-time, online, and full-time programs who are in Gainesville at that same time. We'll try to bring everybody together for larger networking events, or in some cases, tailgating events. And so there's a lot of ways in which we create these weekends that not only are rich in academic content, but also rich in getting to know your classmates and others enrolled in the MBA program beyond. Because I'll tell you that although you might be in a cohort of 45, at any given time we have about 850 to 900 enrolled other MBA students across our portfolio. So there's a lot of MBAs, a lot of Gators to get to know.
So you not only study and learn together, you eat, drink, and socialize with each other.
Exactly.
I imagine the bonding is very deep and strong when you graduate from the program. Now, we all know there's a kind of a huge portfolio of specialized master's degrees today and certificate programs and all kinds of things that business schools offer. And I wonder, from your perspective, how does an executive MBA differ? We've already established that number one, you're going to come into contact, an intense contact with far more experienced people from a diverse set of industries and companies and disciplines. But what else differentiates an EMBA from a traditional master's degree in business, whether it's specialized or an MBA?
Yeah. So I think that the biggest thing, touching on the points about the professional experience that our students are coming in with, I think that when our faculty members are in front of the classroom and creating curriculum for our EMBAs specifically, oftentimes they recognize the level of experience these students have, and therefore, rather than dictating certain case studies or projects to these students, they're able to allow our students to choose projects that are more relevant to their day to day. And so
Mhm.
it's been profound in being able to talk to our students who, in our EMBA program, will use a project that they needed to do for one faculty member, one professor, and basically explore how, let's say, just-in-time delivery works in their own medical practices, and be able to execute that in real time to in fact get that ROI even quicker. And so something that I also tell a lot of our prospective students is that, unlike of all these specialized master's programs, or even let's say our full-time program that offers concentrations, I have a lot of discussions with individuals about, well, if I'm doing this, I want to be able to become a subject matter expert in XYZ. And my argument to that, specifically in an EMBA program, is you actually are already a subject matter expert within your industry or the roles that you've had for many, many years. And so you're able to be in a finance class, or going back to the operations supply chain management class, and you're able to understand how all of these concepts that we're teaching are applicable to any which industry or functional area. And so you don't necessarily actually need have a value of specializing and really fine tuning your academic piece of things, because you already are bringing in so much experience that actually having that lived experience and that professional experience, coupled with what we are offering in terms of that broad spectrum MBA that focuses in management and leadership. Although I will tell you that every class is going to be a little bit different, and every class will have a different flavor, but you will have that opportunity, specifically in an EMBA, to create or at least choose projects or case studies that are most relevant to what you're looking to get into. And so I think that that's a really big differentiator, unlike many of the other specialized master's programs, or even some of our full-time programs, where students just don't have the experience to really choose kind of how they want to direct either the assignments or the curriculum itself.
Yeah, so in that sense, it's customizable to the challenges that you're facing at work. I can imagine, okay, if I'm responsible for a new product introduction, or if I have to set up a new plant, I can bring that challenge into the class, get the help of a professor and my classmates uh, to really inform the decisions that I'm making in a way that really enhances my ability to make smart decisions, which is really incredible benefit of an EMBA, because you are working and you can bring that knowledge straight to work and apply it immediately. One of the highlights of your Warrington program, of course, is something that I would definitely love if I were in it, and it's your global immersion experience. Talk a little bit about that. Where do you bring people? Is it mandatory or voluntary? And what do they get out of it?
Yeah. So, John, that's my favorite part of our EMBA program too. Our global immersion experiences are basically at the midway point of the curriculum. Our students go on an international trip together. It's a 1 week trip where basically they'll visit 6 to 8 different companies, and they get more exposure on kind of doing business in that region. Now, the great thing is we try to choose companies that are global companies, multinational companies, but also very localized companies. And so just a few months ago, we spent a week in Berlin, Germany.
Hmm.
And some of the companies that we went to were, we visited Siemens. We went to a big marketing firm. We got to, go to the old airport that has actually become a tech hub, startup hub. which was a lot of fun. And then another actually great feature of our executive MBA trip is that during this trip, not only are we learning from companies, but we have an opportunity to make a positive impact on a local company as well. In fact, we choose before we, as kind of the early preparation for this trip, we look at a number of entrepreneurs, and we kind of try to figure out which companies best suits the needs or might best suit the needs of our students in their experience. And so, in fact, this past year, we chose a company that is launching or has been around for a number of years, but they were looking to get into new markets. And so it's an app version of a language skills company. And so we were able to go and spend a day with them. We did some pre-work beforehand. We were able to really understand where the company's growth potentials could be. And then our students got to do a global strategy challenge where, as a cohort, they broke up in teams and they each created their own solution for this company. And it was a great opportunity to then be able to deliver and present to this company while in ground, because we'd been working with this company for months before we actually got to Germany, and we were able to present to them our findings. And the winning team, if you will, got to make an immediate impact on this company. And so they've been able to keep in touch with this company. It's been great to kind of see how our students, not only they form these tight bonds before they go on this international trip, and then they all travel together and they go to a number of beer gardens together or wherever we are together, and they really get to not only become even closer friends, but we have an opportunity to learn more about doing global business, but also being able to make a positive impact on a local company. And so the Global Strategy Challenge, coupled with visiting 6 to 8 different companies, and this is something that every year we choose, change up our destination. And so some of the more recent ones we've been to have been Paris, Madrid, London, Santiago. And so we're super excited because the group that just started this past year will be going to Milan. So, never a dull moment.
They're going to eat well in Milan. I'll tell you that, Naz.
It's probably we'll have to adjust the MBA 20 to the MBA 25 for that.
Exactly. Pump it up for sure. I've always said, one of the things that make an MBA education and an executive MBA as well, really special and unique than any other graduate degree at the university is the fact that you not only learn the basics, right? So you're going to learn accounting, finance, strategy, marketing, operations. But the other thing and incidentally, the application of digital technologies, including AI, to better business decision making. But the other thing that you learn that you don't get when you major in any other subject at a university is true professional growth and attention to your own personal development. So what other opportunities does Warrington have for EMBAs to have this professional growth?
Yeah. So, I think that the MBA experience, I think oftentimes students come in and they think, oh, this is really just me broadening my skill set in a classroom environment. But really, if we've done our job right here at Warrington, then all of the other avenues in which you can do personal and professional growth. And so we have a huge focus on beyond the classroom opportunities. And in part, that's why we established this global immersion trip. But of course, it's expanded a lot more beyond just a global immersion trip. So we are currently running a number of other ways in which students can kind of grow personally and professionally. So I'll first start off by saying all of our EMBAs have a dedicated career coach that will work with them on career strategy. So that's one aspect that I think at minimum, whether you're looking to move on to a new role or stay within your organization. And I'll tell you, most of our EMBAs are looking to stay within their organizations, but there are a few that are looking for new opportunities. Sure. So career strategy is really important. But beyond career strategy, and that could be something really important for really just anybody, not just those seekers. But beyond that, we have a dedicated professional development team that focuses on all of the other skills that today's MBA student needs. So whether that's trainings such as in Scrum Master or Excel or Lean Six Sigma, things like that. So we have a dedicated staff member that is focused on what are the professional development training opportunities that we can offer our students. And then above and beyond that, we do an MBA summit series and a mini conference series. And we do campus residencies that are above and beyond those specific class weekends that you'd be coming to town for. So what these are, let me kind of break them down. So our MBA summit series is where about 6 to 8 different times a year, we will go to various regional markets, and we'll do a 3-day kind of immersion in that market. And these aren't credit bearing. So this is purely, non-credit bearing opportunity. And so, in fact, a few months ago, I was in Atlanta where we met. We started the event with a networking event in the evening time where we got all of our students in the Atlanta area together and we did a big networking social. The next day we met with Delta and we got to tour Delta Airlines facility. We got to meet with the team that is focused on in-seat back entertainment and the changes that are coming there. And then after that, we brought one of our faculty members up to Atlanta and they taught our students and did an in-depth discussion on change management. And so that is something above and beyond that they could have gotten in just one of their courses. And so we got to tie in, that industry and city all together that way. Now, we'll be going to DC in a few short weeks. We're going to Charlotte in a couple of weeks. We've done this in Houston and all throughout the state of Florida. So we have these MBA Summit series, which have been a huge hit, and we try to limit them to about 25 to 30 students so that you still get that smaller cohort feel. And then once a year, we do a conference series primarily focused on leadership development. So all of these, our next one will be in Orlando, where we bring distinguished alums and current students to campus or to our regional markets. Like I said, we'll be in Orlando this upcoming year, and we move this around so that we can get our students as engaged as possible. And so, we've been doing these types of events kind of not only in market, but out of market. So regardless of where our EMBAs or, any of our students are living and doing the program, that they have an opportunity to kind of meet us on the road. And then the last thing that I'll tell you that is also, this is for credit, but I guess students could do this as well. We have our Washington campus. So if you are interested in business policy or healthcare policy, that you have an opportunity to take a deeper dive in that as well. But professional development, there's no shortage of ways to kind of explore these avenues. In fact, this past weekend, we had a number of students on campus where we were talking about ethical leadership. And so we brought one of our faculty members in for the weekend where we also did some networking and our students got to enjoy some Gator sport events. But these are all optional things that our students are able to participate in above and beyond their curriculum.
Yeah, lots of bells and whistles and opportunities here to shape the program exactly the way you need it to be shaped, especially like the one-on-one career coaching. Because if you have things like a negotiation over promotion, or you want to ask for an increase in pay, or you're looking for a new opportunity, whether in the same industry or making a transition outside of that industry, a career coach could be really valuable to you, along with these experiences for sure. Now, what does networking look like? Because you assume if you're not there day in and day out as you are in a full-time program, that networking might be compromised. But it seems to me that with all of these interventions and opportunities for professional collisions, that may not be true.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would actually say that having those, we call them weekend warrior type programs, that when you're coming and spending an entire weekend all together, I think it really makes for a different level of networking and camaraderie building. In fact, it's really nice because we don't encourage this by any means. Well, we encourage it, but we don't force it. But oftentimes what we see is our EMBAs that are coming to Gainesville, they typically dedicate their Friday nights to their immediate teams. So Friday nights will be meeting with your group members, finalizing projects, getting a more intimate opportunity with your team members that you probably don't live anywhere nearby. And then usually Saturdays are those days that we do the broader networking opportunities. And going back to the comment that I made about more family style breakfast and lunch. This has been an intentional effort to think about how every opportunity that a student has on campus, that we're encouraging them to connect with other students. And so whether it's around tailgating, football season, or when we're just bringing in a number of cohorts together. And in fact, we usually try to align the schedule. So both of our EMBAs are, here in Gainesville on the same weekend. So not only do you get to know your immediate cohort mates, but if you start one year, not only do you have the returning second years that you'll get to network with, but then once you've hit the midway point, you get to meet the greener group that comes in after you. So even though you get to most closely interact with your immediate 44 other classmates, in fact, you have an additional, 90 other students of our other EMBA cohorts that you get to really network with as well. And John, the beauty of our EMBAs is that, and this is something that I'll touch up on, is that not only talking about career strategy and professional development, but time and time again, it is our EMBAs that, come together. They create companies together. They go the entrepreneurial route together, or we see a lot of EMBAs hire their classmates because they're in hiring roles and they understand firsthand, what their classmates know. And so, it's actually a really great thing. In fact, one of our EMBA cohorts that graduated in 2016, they never got me off their group chat. So hopefully they're not, listening today, but twice a year they still meet up. And so to think that, we're talking, 9 years later, twice a year, this group of individuals, they're still meeting up in different markets, mainly to keep that momentum going. Because, this, unlike your undergrad, where maybe you form strong bonds, in this EMBA, the bonds that you form here are going to be for life, and that's going to be, these individuals that you'll call upon whenever you need personal or professional advice, they will be the soundboard of ideas. Another group that they know I'm still in their chat, oftentimes they'll say, hey, does anybody remember this case study? Or can somebody send me this assignment that Dr. Alba had us do? Because I think it's really relevant to what I'm working on, right now. And it's great to be able to see those discussions, because it is a reminder that even after a cohort has graduated, they continue to feed into one another's, personal and professional lives.
That's great. Now, Naz, you earlier mentioned the magic acronym ROI, return on investment. And I know that EMBA programs in general are premium programs, meaning that they're not only accelerated, but you typically put your best faculty in. You're wining and dining of your students and giving them really first-class treatment. What does it cost to go and get a Warrington EMBA, not accounting for maybe sponsorship from your own company, because still a lot of companies will partially pay for this, if not fully. But what's the cost?
So the cost of our executive MBA program is about $63,000. So I say about mainly because there's a random, this changes every year based on the university fees.
Sure.
So $63,000. That does not include the international trip. So we encourage students to plan on spending an additional $2,500 to $3,500, on the international trip as well. And then, although we have negotiated discounted rates at our local hotels, I would encourage students to plan on, spending about $80 to $120 a night every time they're coming to Gainesville. And of course, best if you are coming in a driving radius of Gainesville and you want to just come in crazy early on Saturday morning. You might not need a Friday night accommodation, but I say with just shy of $65,000. I mean, most other EMBAs, as you know, John, you're the expert in this. They are a lot more. So, as I said at the beginning, we do see a lot of students coming in from other markets that are electing. They're doing the math and they're still saying, "Hey, the Warrington MBA is still a better deal."
I mean, there are EMBA programs that are easily in six figures. Most of them would be double the cost. Some are actually more than triple the cost of this EMBA. So it's a very reasonable deal for someone who wants an executive MBA, particularly one that's fully featured with all these different bells and whistles attached to them. Now, Naz, if someone is interested, who do they talk to? How do they reach them?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. So just reach out to me directly. I love to be accessible to all of our students, and I specifically work most closely with our EMBAs. So reach out to me directly. My email is super easy. It's just naz@warrington.ufl.edu. But I'll tell you that my team and I, we are on the road constantly. We are in not only various markets here in the state of Florida, we go beyond the state lines. And so I encourage you to go to our website and schedule a coffee chat with us, or a one-on-one Zoom, or do a weekly virtual info session with me. But hopefully you all, after listening to this, just know how accessible my team and I are to make this dream come true.
Indeed. Now, Naz, do you get to go on the global immersion trips ever?
I do.
You
Yeah,
are lucky.
I am.
Wow. So if you reach out to Naz, get to know her, and you might be lucky too, and you'll get to go on an immersion trip with Naz, which is a special treat in and of itself, I think. So
Exactly.
thank you so much for giving us the lowdown on the Warrington EMBA. And for all of you out there, thanks for watching. Again, contact NAS directly. Check out the website. There's a lot of other detail on the program, including the courses, the electives, everything you really need to know. And then do it. I mean, most people, this is the problem with EMBAs, right? People say, "Oh, I want to get an executive MBA," and because of personal reasons or professional reasons, they delay and delay and delay. They finally do it, and they said, "Oh my God, I wish I did this 5 or 10 years earlier." This is so common and typical, right?
Oh, absolutely. I say this all the time. Time value of money. It's the first thing that you're going to learn in an EMBA, and you're going to, kick yourselves in the tush when you realize that you should have done this sooner.
Yeah, because if you do it sooner, it's going to be cheaper. You're going to have more benefit from it. It's really going to accelerate your career and your confidence. And it's going to make a difference. So it's better to do it later than hanging around wishing you should do it or could do it or don't you do it. How are you going to balance your personal life and your professional life with it? Just go for it. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.